I am a registered architect. I have been a Bluebeam certified consultant for a few years, and just recently both Dan and I spent 3 quality days in Chicago last July, I believe, and we are both Bluebeam certified instructors now. So we can provide you our normal training, or we can provide certified training as well. It's kind of a nice addition. A little bit about today. We're going to talk about these 3 things, working with Bluebeam Revu and PDFs. I'm going to show you a little bit up front about just marking up PDFs, explaining to you a little bit about how Bluebeam works, just in case there's anyone out there either not using it or maybe has never heard of it or something of that sort. I will create a Bluebeam Studio session. We'll upload a couple of files, and Dan and I will work on those files so we can explain a bit about how online collaboration works. I will also show you Bluebeam projects. It's another aspect of Studio. And instead of hearing real-world examples, Dan and I are going to actually show you how this works, hopefully in real time, so you can see how collaboration will work. The basic core functionality of the Bluebeam product, it's a fairly easy to use interface. If you're coming from an older version, it's going to take a week or 2 to kind of forget where everything is and then learn where all the new stuff is. It took me a while to learn that, and then I ended up having to do a training session in the old interface, and I had totally forgotten where everything was. So I had to have people actually in the room tell me, I'm looking for this, tell me where it is. So once you do learn the new interface, you will be able to work in there fairly easily. We'll talk a little bit about how to set up customized tools. We'll look at the markup list, which is really the beauty of the program, and then we're going to deal with some real-time collaboration in Bluebeam Studio. Bluebeam Studio is something that comes with the Bluebeam product. It is free of charge, so there's no additional cost to you with any of the Bluebeam products that you purchase through us. There are 2 aspects to the Bluebeam Studio. Sessions. Now, sessions are basically document-based online collaboration, and the document that you can work with is solely a PDF. So sessions are intended to work on PDF files exclusively. They can be used in a variety of different fashions. One is they can be a one-time meeting. You set up a session, you invite people to the meeting, you go over some PDFs of your project, mark them up, go ahead and close that session and archive all of the data and download a complete record of that meeting. Another is you leave that meeting up. You need people to get in and out over the next week. You have a week to comment on the issues at hand, so go ahead and log in whenever you have time. Third thing that you can do with sessions, it's a way to have multiple people work on the same document at the same time within your own organization. So whether you are in one location, let's say New York or Philadelphia or Boston, or you have offices in multiple cities across multiple time zones, you can upload your PDF files to your session on a server on the internet, and you can mark it up. Other people can get into that same file at the same time. So there's no restriction on the number of people besides the number 500. So 500 people at a time can get into a session, and you can upload up to 5,000 documents. It can be 1 gigabyte in size or less. And if you have a gigabyte PDF file, you should talk to our technical support, because that's a really big PDF file. And those can just be up for as long as you want. There is no limit. There's no charge. You will get a notice from the people at Bluebeam every once in a while. Hey, do you still need this? Because it's been a while. And you can say, yeah, I still need it, or no, go ahead and archive it. Projects, on the other hand, will replicate folder structure in your office, again, online. So you can set up as many folders as you like, and you can upload any kind of document whatsoever. So they can be Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDF files, AutoCAD drawings. If you have that software on your machine, you can open that online file and work on it, only one at a time, because it's just like in your office. So there are restrictions to only letting one person mark it up at a time. But again, it lets anyone from anywhere have access to those files. They can also be synchronized back to your local server. Some of the features in Revu, again, navigation has been simplified. Dynamic properties toolbar at the top of the screen to, if you don't want to keep your properties palette open all the time. There are view and markup modes. There used to be kind of a free version of the software. Now you simply download the paid-for version, and after 30 days, it will go into view mode. It's also a way to free up a license if you want to do that. You can, you have the markup summary dialog box at the bottom of the screen. There's more flexibility now in Studio projects. You can now open files across multiple projects. Earlier releases, you could only open one project at a time, and custom keyboard shortcuts. So if you don't like the shortcuts that are provided with the software, you can adjust those. And online tutorials. So tutorials come with the software as well as being able to access additional ones online. Okay, so let me get into showing you a bit of the interface. This is Bluebeam Revu 2018. I have not seen 2019 yet, but I would not anticipate major interface interchanges, but that's just my hypothesizing. I think there's going to be other improvements to the software. I think this is the interface for the at least next few releases. They worked very hard to get this, and I would be curious if they change things around again on us. Across the top of the screen, if you were used to the old big command bar, you'll see that that's gone, and we now have a series of pull-down menus. Pull-down menus have been organized in such a way to try to consolidate the different functionality. For example, all the batch functionality that was scattered across many menus has now been placed in one. Tools, all of the editing and markup tools have now been placed in one. So we have markups and stamps and measuring and file attachments and things of that sort. So more concise interface. Toolbars still exist, and you can control those. You can control what you see on the screen from the Revu dropdown in something called profiles. So you can create your own profile, set up the desktop any way you want, and obviously switch to that. You might wear many hats. Maybe one day you're doing field issues, another day you're doing quantity takeoff, so you can change what your interface looks like. Across the top of the screen is currently something called the properties bar. Now, at the moment, there's really nothing going on, so it simply shows me what's going on with that particular page that I'm on. But if I were to come in and select one of my, whoops, let's get back over to here. If I were, oh, that's interesting. I don't know why it went to view mode. Let's see if we can get back to markup mode. There we go. I'm not sure what I clicked on. So let's see if I can actually function here properly. Let me go ahead and click on this. And once I click on that particular markup, you'll see that the properties bar across the top of the screen here has added all of this information. It's in a very concise bar, whereas if I wanted to look at the properties palette over here, I have all that information, but it takes up a lot of screen space over here on the right-hand side. Tabs for opening different files. Let me zoom extents here, or not. Let me zoom all the way back out. So we can have different functionality as I open different files. I'll click on the File Access tab. I'll open up a second file here. Right? I can open up a third file. Right, and we'll have these tabs at the top that allow us to move from one page to another. You can also split your screen. You can also tear these off and put them on other monitors if you have. Okay, so pretty basic functionality, thumbnails. Again, as you click on these, you have the ability to expand or shrink the side menu. The markups, again, you can use them from across the top of the screen. The toolbar has markups in there that you can use, or measurement tools. You can also go to the tools pull down and use markups and measurements. The real beauty in the software is in creating your own custom tools. So if I needed to do additional ceramic tile or carpeting, I don't want to use the area tool for that and have to keep changing it over and over again. What I want to do is have a tool over here in my list of tools that allows me to place something in the file. So here I have a ceramic tile markup tool that allows me to very quickly come in and add that to a particular space. So let's see, this should be ceramic tile. I could go ahead and click on that and pick a corner here, hold down my left button, pick a corner down here, and I will now get more ceramic tile. So that it's easily customized. If something doesn't look quite the same, it looks like I might have done some customization up here that I didn't do to that tool after the fact. We also have a tool where I can pick this, choose the paint tool, and I can paint that feature onto that particular tool. So very easy to create these custom tools, and if things have changed afterwards, I could easily replace it, or I could make it look just like what I have at the top of the screen. Now, all of this information is being recorded, and that's the real strength in the software. So down here at the bottom of the screen is something called our markup list. It doesn't have to be at the bottom of the screen. You can put it at the top, on the side. You can tear this off and put it on another screen if you want. What's nice about the markup list is that you can add whichever columns you might like. So there's a lot of pre-built columns. You can also add a lot of custom columns. So in this particular case, I wanted to do takeoffs. So not only did I have area available, but I started to create things like square yards by taking square feet and dividing it out, or creating cost per square foot, or cost per square yard, or cost per linear foot. For items, I then create my totals. I can get totals in here, and I can get my total yardage, and I can get my total project cost. Now, the total project cost, we basically, all we need to do quickly to get a total on the project is to choose a column that has everything in common. So in terms of responsibility or status, those are all exactly the same. If I were to left click on responsibility, it'll sort the project, and there's my total cost on the upper right, $9,939.02. This can also be exported. So I can click on this and I can export it as a CSV summary or an XML summary. Either of those I can open in Excel and massage the information any way I want, or we can get a PDF summary, and if we attach it to this file, we can get all of these markups in here as hyperlinks to back from the summary back to the original markup. Okay, so lots of cool stuff inside of the software. The real beauty of collaborating, though, with this isn't doing it internally, it's doing it with other people. So let's go ahead and do that. On the left-hand side over here, and it doesn't have to be the left-hand side, it just happens to be in the interface I'm in. You can choose to place this tool anywhere you want, is the Studio tool. The Studio tool will want you to sign in. So once you get your copy of Bluebeam, you will go to this location. And if you have not already created an account, you will now create an account. You will use a username. Usually the username will be the one that's associated with your copy of the software, and then a password. Make sure you keep track of your password, because this is one of the few products that absolutely does not store the password. So I've got my fingers crossed that my brain will remember my secret password, and fingers crossed, I'll click sign in. If you don't remember your password, you can, of course, always go ahead and reset that. I've had to do that a couple of times. I finally have settled on one that I can actually remember. Okay, so up here at the top left, again, because this palette is on the left-hand side, because that's where the icon is, we have access to our projects and to our studio sessions. So let me go ahead and switch over to sessions here. You can see some of the existing sessions I have. I'm going to create a new one right now for collaborating with Dan. So if Dan is still around, he'll be watching this and he'll be able to log in using a number. I'm going to click on this plus icon right here. See if I can highlight that. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to create a new session. Okay, so I'm going to call this collaboration. And if I don't get that right, don't shoot the messenger. I can go ahead and now add files if I want. I can click add. I'm going to click add my open files. I've got 3 files open. We're going to upload those. We also have the ability to invite people. Once I go ahead and upload some files, we'll see something show up. I am going to, you can also set options for permissions down here. Now, I can set whether you can save or print or markup or add documents. I can also restrict attendees by email address. I'm not going to do that right now. Otherwise, I would have to formally send an invitation to Dan to join. However, keep in mind that there are, I think, over 1 million users of Revu out there. And so if your project or session number gets out there, oh, hey, I was just on session XYZ, and you don't have it restricted, anyone who has Revu can get into your session. You can also set up an expiration date for your session. So again, if you want to tell people, look, you got a week to use this, or the session ends, you can do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and click add my open files. Has been modified. I'll go ahead and save it before uploading it. I will save it, sure, and say yes. And the files are now uploaded. I will go ahead and say OK to this. Now, the next thing that should happen is that a dialog box should pop up, and sure enough, it did. So the dialog box pops up, and this is where I can create that email invitations. I can click on my plus to add email addresses. I have the ability to set up groups that I can then use to invite people. I can copy that invitation. I can send messages. Again, note it says a session is limited to 500 attendees. Or Dan can go ahead and join. So Dan sees this number, session ID 740-169-303. Look at if there's any of you out there who are in, please don't do anything that would not be acceptable to your maybe your parents, although I don't know your parents, but you can certainly join in too and do markups at the same time. So the session is 740-169-303. Now at the moment, I am the only attendee. So once Dan logs in and joins, I'm going to go and pick OK. Oh, and Dan is in. So you'll notice now that Dan has now joined the session. Now, there is one thing that is still missing in the software is the ability to talk via a phone or some other voice method. But down here at the bottom, we do have a chat window. Now, if I put a markup in, if I were to put a markup in, let's say I'll come over to here, I'll zoom in, and then I will put a cloud on there. right? And then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, Dan, look at this, right? What'll happen is when Dan, now I would zoom back out, so I'll zoom back out, but when Dan clicks on this, right, it will zoom in right on that piece of information. So you'll notice, so it says, hey, Reed, I'm going to start my work for today. So I click on that, and it takes me right to where he sent that message, right? Or we've got this information here. Now, what also happens with this is that all of these markups, any markup that goes into the file, also gets listed down here at the bottom. So I did a, let me see if I can do it by subject. So I did a cloud markup, and I'm just trying to see where my cloud markup is, right? We can see these starting to be added down here at the bottom of the screen. So as added engineer markup, we can start to see those going in here as well. So engineer, all of that sort of thing. Everything that's going online is going on down here at the bottom. In fact, almost everything you can do. Let's see if there's any notifications, anything pending. Nope, nothing going on. So anything that you can do in your office, you can do in the studio session. The only thing you cannot do is to create a custom column. So custom columns cannot be created in an online markup. You could simply download that particular file. You could then add a custom column and then re-upload that again. And again, as I click on these markups that are being added, I can see very quickly where those are located. Right? So I can go over and see that. So it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's very easy to go in. Now, one of the things that can also happen is that I could be, you know, over in this file here, not really paying attention to Dan. And one of the things that I can do is I can come down to Dan, for example, and I can follow that attendee. So I will go ahead and click on follow the attendee. And now as Dan moves around in the file or goes into a different file, I will now be following what he does. You can see those kind of four triangles sort of pointing. And that way, if someone says, hey, look, we need to talk about this particular area, if everyone will go ahead and follow me, we can go ahead and do that. Now I can go ahead and double click back on my name, and that basically unfollows him, right? So you can kind of get out of following as well. So very, very nice feature. Now I'm not going to do it because I'm a little nervous about disconnecting. Well, I'm a little bit nervous about disconnecting from the session and doing a demo of that. But if you wanted to, right now I am connected to this session. If I needed to go out, if I were in, let's say, a construction site trailer, I needed to come on my iPad, for instance, or on my, even better, a Microsoft Surface, which gives you then complete functionality of the Revu product. I could disconnect, take that out into the field. I could go ahead and review, let's say, an issue, maybe even take a picture of that, come back into the office, and after having made that markup and linked that image to that particular issue, I would go ahead and reconnect, and anything that had been in pending, let's see where my mouse is. I can't find, oh, it's up there. Okay, so anything that had been in pending would now go ahead and be added to the list. Okay, so pretty straightforward, and you can see again we're getting this complete list of things. Now, as we get to a point where maybe I would like to go ahead and get a record of this particular session, down here at the bottom, see if that'll pop up. Yep, down here at the bottom, at the chat line, we have the ability to get a record of our session. So I could get a record summary, I could get a PDF package, or I could combine all the files into a report. So I'm going to go ahead, while this is still live, it might be a mistake, but I'm going to try to do this while it's still live, create a combined files report. I'm going to pick OK. I'm going to go ahead and drop it into the folder where we do my sales demos from, and Bluebeam 2018, and I'm going to call it the collaboration report PDF. I'm going to pick save, and it's starting to create that report. There were no errors. I picked OK. So now what I've got, let me minimize this over here. What I've got now is this collaboration report file, right? And if I look at that, not only do I have the information about all the markups that I did, but I actually have copies of all of the marked up files, right? So I have a complete record of that particular session. I have a list of all the attendees. I have a list of the documents used. And I have a complete list of all of the markup information. I also have, I think, there's a hyperlink. So if I were to come down here and click on that, it'll take me right to where Dan had added that information. So this is really, really powerful stuff, right? Really powerful stuff that you've got with the online collaboration. And again, you can, any of the stakeholders can be involved in the process. Now, do you have to have a paid-for version of the software to participate? Well, if you want to add markups, the answer is yes. If you just want to be able to view it, if you have not logged in to the project before and you have your markup mode copy has expired, you will be in what's called view mode. Over here at the top, that somehow I got into view mode by accident, but you can get back out of it easily if you have a license. And you can log in and you can view what's going on. So you don't have to have the ability to mark up. You can also participate in it as well. Okay, so that's your studio sessions. I'll go back to sessions. At this point, I'm done now. Dan and Louise can stay. Oh, Louise went offline. Let's see if there's anything pending. Nothing pending there. So he's gone offline. That's fine. I am going to leave the session open, but I am going to go offline. Dan is done for the day, so that's perfect. He may go offline, and I'm going to go offline as well. Now, I am not going to close the project. If you wanted to, you could finish the session, and again, that will allow you to create this report and archive it and remove the files from access. All I'm going to do is simply leave the session, right? And once I leave the session, it is still available. So anyone at any time from anywhere, as long as they have that ID, or if they've already joined a session, it'll be in this list, they can join and go in and mark up those files. Okay. Let me go ahead and close. I'm going to log out of, oh, actually, I'm going to stay in Studio for a minute. Okay, so let me close some of these files. And I'll close that guy, and we'll close this guy. Yeah, we'll go ahead and save the changes. Okay. So another thing that you can do with Studio is what is called projects. So projects is this other icon, and again, they are set up pretty much the exact same way as you set up a session, except instead of it looking like it just did where you load files, just PDF files, now you have the ability to create these online folders or projects, and you have the ability to create a folder structure similar to your Office. You can show it as a folder structure. You can show it, you can show it as that's project settings. Let me go ahead and cancel that, excuse me. You can show it as over here on the right is what I'm searching for desperately. I can show it as thumbnails. I can show it as, yes, a list. There we go. So I can show it as a list of folders as well. You can also list A to Z or Z to A. You can go ahead and add new folders right here. You can add new files, upload files. You can upload a folder. There's more information. You can also show checkout review. So here's a folder. Let me go ahead and expand architectural set. Here's a folder, and there are my files, right? So you can, again, mimic your office, excuse me, your office structure with these files or these folders. You can also upload different types of files. So here's a Word document. Here's an AutoCAD drawing. If I double clicked on those, that would open up that piece of software, right? Now, when I do that, when I open that up, the file is in read-only mode. And the reason for that is that I didn't check it out. So if I actually wanted to check something out, I would right-click on it, and I would choose Check Out. Once I check it out, now I can open it and edit it. Let me go ahead and check that back in. And there really wasn't any change to mark to note. Okay, so let me go over to another file here. Let me go down to the site plan, and let me double click that. Let me cancel that actually for a second. Let me close. Oh, and so you'll notice I opened the site plan up, but you'll notice I double clicked on it, right? And so it has this lock on it. Now, if no one else has the file open, I can click on that lock and quickly check it out. So now that file is checked out, which means I can do markups on it, right? So if I come in and decide to do a quick area, let me come over here, area, and I will say, oh, I need to know how big this is from here to here, right? So it gives me that area. I need to make a note. Maybe we need to adjust this curve. So I'll go ahead and do that. I will, yes, click here and put a note here and adjust curve, right? What's very nice is I also have a feature here that will allow me to shrink that box down to where the text is. Okay, so now I've put those in. I'll go ahead and save that file. Well, actually what I'll do is I'll close the file. So I'll go ahead and click on close the file. I will get a box that says, do you want to save it? Yep, I want to save it. And then I get something for comments. So I can put in added lot area and curve note. I'll go ahead and, was it a minor revision or a major revision? It's kind of minor. Do I want to update my server copy? I will go ahead and do a check-in for that. Okay, so there's my check-in. Here's my file that I just checked in. I can right-click on that, and I have something called revision history. So all of the times that this file was checked out and checked in is going to be listed here. As you put markups in, someone added stuff back here, looks like me, added a cloud, done, added a cloud, added lot area and curve note. So I can go back to any one of these previous versions and open that up and restore that or download it if I want. So you don't quite get this capability in your, if you have this in the office. So one of the advantages of having it online is also developing this particular history. Okay, so now I think I'm done demonstrating this. So let me go ahead and I am going to hop out of Studio. I'm going to sign out. And hopefully it signs me out. There we go. So I'm signed out. I will come back over to here and reopen one of my files that I had opened before. So this recent file list, this file list here is wonderful because you can take and create these different groupings and you can very quickly get to the different files in your office. So lots of really nice features in the software. Okay, I'm seeing about 7 minutes of my 50 minutes left. So let me, I'm going to go back over and just show you a couple of a couple of items that are related to the new release. I have a short video that I'm going to show you, and then we'll be done, and we can take any questions that you have. So I am going to sneak back into my PowerPoint. Okay, so again, coming up towards the end of the month, hopefully these are treats prior to Halloween, no tricks. And it's going to be a faster, more efficient version. And we're going to have enhanced takeoff functionality. I'm really looking forward to that. Plus some new tools to make it a little bit easier for you to create a deployment if you have multiple versions of the software. One of those new features is going to be panning and zooming. So they are improving the speed on that, and they're, again, claiming that you are going to be able to be at least 6 times faster. And on the website that has this information, there is a 12-second video showing you that. There are improved takeoff features. I'm not 100% sure what those are, but it looks like we are going to be getting some automatic prompts for setting our scale to make sure that you have preset the scale of the sheet prior to doing the takeoff. Also in the video that I'm going to play in a minute, it shows the dynamic fill, and I don't know if the dynamic fill is being incorporated a little differently than it has been in the past, so I'm waiting to see that. It also looks like there's some three-dimensionality to some of the takeoffs. Also, a quick and easier standardization. So a configuration editor that's going to make it a lot easier, I'm assuming, to create standardizations for deployments. Up until this point, you really do need to go into some files and muck around with some code, and that's why you become a certified consultant, so you know where to go in and where to muck around. I'm looking at this thinking, oh, they're going to make this so that really anyone can go in there and make those changes fairly easily. So let me see if I click on this, if it brings up the video. And I'm going to try to maximize this. Ignore anything that comes on the screen after the video starts. And here we go. So again, this can be used with everyone on the team. By doing it online, you'll be able to keep track of whoever marked it up. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention is when you are marking up online, no one can change your markups or your markup name. If you're doing it offline, people can go in and revise your markups. Again, some new measurement tools. There's the dynamic fill that I was talking about, being able to set your precision and setting your scale. You also have the ability to set different measurements, so you can do cubic feet as well as square feet or cubic yards. Again, you can have your entire project in the cloud, so you can see all these different users marking it up at exactly the same time. Again, if you're out on the field, you can go ahead and do your markup in the field and then go ahead and place that in the file.